caution over recent claims of a Christian genocide in Nigeria. According to the reports today, the latter date is November 5, 2025, an address to the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mike Johnson, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, and Senate Minority Leader John Thune. The APC USA called for diplomatic engagement rather than military intervention. It said it recognized Americans' commitment to global religious freedom, but warned against what it described as distorted narratives about Nigeria's security situation. The letter follows U.S. President Donald Trump's recent threat to deploy American military forces to Nigeria if the alleged genocide against Christians is not stopped. The letter, signed by the chapter's chairman, Professor Tai Balofin, expressed concern that the recent classification of Nigeria as a country of particular concern by Trump could be influenced by misinformation and partisan politics within Nigeria ahead of the 2027 general elections. Balfour explained that while violent incidents have tragically claimed many lives, they stem largely from long-standing communal and resource-based conflicts between farmers and herders in Nigeria's Middle Belt rather than targeted religious persecution. Meanwhile, a retired professor of sociology at the University of Lagos has urged Nigerians earlier to abandon their differences and mobilize national sentiment behind the government of Nigeria and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Professor Luredi made the call in a statement signed to journalists on Wednesday. In his response to Mr. Trump's provocative moves, the former National Commissioner with the Independent National Electoral Commission advised President Tinubu's government to display decorum and respect for the most powerful country in the unipolar world. Professor Luredi said that Nigerians should be diplomatic rather than being emotional, tasking federal government to act with caution and consciousness while citing that America can kill Nigeria's flag with a sledgehammer. The fire outbreak at Jagun Junction in Washington State has destroyed properties worth millions of naira. It was gathered that the fire broke out in some minutes after 12 p.m. on Wednesday, November 5, 2025, and razed the houses and the shops nearby, especially mattresses and building materials in two shops and the nearby house before the arrival of firefighters. Though no life was lost, but the cause of the fire outbreak is still unknown. The foam seller, Mr. Fatai Abdul Ghani, his brother Isaac, the building material seller, Mr. Muitin Ibrahim, aka Lambe, Mrs. Modupe Ashake, the landlady of the burnt house, including Mr. Aziz Ismail, Mr. Asimi Suad, aka Oyeolong, and Mrs. Oyekunle Moturayo, all appealed to the government to come to their aid as they have nothing left again. They, however, appeal to government at all levels to keep the firefighters with quality instruments so that they can easily extinguish fire outbreak incidents without hesitation. And now to the foreign scene. Ahead of the official start of the annual United Nations Climate Change Conference, dozens of world leaders are meeting today and Friday in Belém, Brazil. The report today indicated that the meeting would be discussing urgent measures to curb global warming. European leaders attending included German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, French President Emmanuel Macron, and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, alongside top officials from the European Union and the United Nations. The Brazilian host hopes the summit will give momentum to the two-week conference known as COP30, which will officially begin on Monday with tens of thousands of participants from around 200 countries. President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, who has called it the Cup of Truth, said the conference is aimed at delivering tangible results, but the political environment is challenging. Wars and economic worries dominate headlines. The fiscal outlook of many global powers is uncertain at best. The United States under Donald Trump is pressing ahead with its forceful agenda. Argentine ex-president Cristina, who is serving as a 6-year fraud sentence under house arrest, goes on trial today in a separate case for allegedly taking millions of dollars in bribes. The center-left Kirchner, a dominant and polarizing figure in Argentine politics for over 2 decades, served 2 times from 2007 to 2015. Her last trial comes as an ailing Peronist movement named after iconic post-war leader Juan Perón reels from his staging defeat at the hands of right-wing President Javier Milei's party in last month's midterm election. Milei has hailed the result as a vindication of his radical free market agenda, which the Peronist champions of state intervention in the economy vehemently oppose. The so-called notebook scandals revolved around records kept by government Chavez of cash bribes he claims to have delivered from businessmen to government officials between 2003 to 2015. Kirchner, 72, was First Lady from 2003 to 2007, when her late husband, Néstor Kirchner, was president. She succeeded him after his term ended and then later served as vice president to Alberto Fernandez from 2019 until 2023, where Milei took over. And now to the business world. The Federal High Court in Abuja has dismissed the 100 billion naira suit filed by Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemicals FZE against Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited (NNPCL) and other overfull import license disputes. Justice Muhammad Umar, in a ruling yesterday, dismissed the suit following an oral application by lawyers to the defendant after Dangote Refinery's lawyer, CEO Adegbe, applied to withdraw the case. Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority and NNPCL, AYM Shafa Limited, AHA Rano Limited, Tea-Time Petroleum Limited, 2015 Petroleum Limited, and Matches Petroleum Services Limited, while the defendant, Dangote Refinery, led the court to nullify the import licenses issued by NMDPRA to NNPCL and the 5 other companies for the purpose of importing refined petroleum products. Each sought a 100 billion naira in damages against NMDPRA for allegedly continuing to issue import licenses to NNPCL and the 5 companies for importing petroleum products, among other reliefs. The president of the Trade Union Congress, Festus Osifo, has warned that the federal government proposed 15% import duty on premium motor spirit, otherwise known as petrol, could further worsen the living conditions of Nigeria. The TUC boss called for clarity from the government on the scope and boundary of the tax, questioning whether it would apply solely to importers of petrol from abroad or also to those operating within Nigeria's free trade zones. He argued that without clear guidelines, the policy could create confusion and ultimately burden ordinary Nigerians at the pump. Speaking on a television program monitored by the newsman on Wednesday, Osifo said the union is currently studying the policy and consulting with stakeholders to understand its full implications. The union leader raised concerns that while the government argues that the duty would protect local refinery capacity, its immediate impact could be a sharp increase in pump prices since Nigeria still imports about 70% of its PMI's needs. And now to the sports. Former Super Eagles forward Jonathan Apoboril has criticized the Nigerian Football Federation for its slow response in announcing the national team squad ahead of the Croatia 2026 World Cup playoff clash against Gabon, describing the delay as typical of Nigeria and warning that it could prove costly. Apobori expressed frustration at what he termed a recurring cartel of late preparation in Nigerian football. According to the ex-international, the NFF's failure to make an official squad announcement barely away to the decisive fixture paints a worrying picture of disorganization. He further warned that the recurring trend of last-minute player call-ups and poor planning has hindered the country's football development over the years. Boris concerns come as Nigeria prepares to face Gabon in a must-win playoff fixture that could determine their qualification route to the 2025 World Cup. Before the recap of the major stories, listen to this important information from Ayekooto 88.3fm. Dear listeners, Nigeria is a diverse country with people of different faith and culture. Let's allow diversity as a strength and not as a weakness. Let there be unity in our diversity. Now the recap of the major stories. Senator Nedin Wokoepi said that politics should be an open table for the nation, not a private garden of a few, and the willingness to make Nigerian great should be a priority for every political leader. A retired professor of sociology at the University of Lagos urged Nigerians allies to sing the differences and mobilize national sentiment behind the government of Nigeria and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Moving outside the country, ahead of the official start of the annual United Nations Climate Change Conference, dozens of world leaders are meeting today and Friday in Belém, Brazil. And on business news, the Federal High Court in Abuja dismissed the 100 billion naira suit filed by Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemicals (RZD) against Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited and Northern over full import license dispute. And on sport, former Super Eagles forward Jonathan Apobori criticized the Nigerian Football Federation for its slow response in announcing the national team squad ahead of the Croatia 2026 World Cup playoff clash against Gabon, describing the delay as a typical of Nigeria and warning that it could prove costly. That's ending news at noon on Ayekooto 88.3fm in Washington State, as compiled by Amina Imran and edited by Dauda Ahmed. For any news reports in your area of vicinity, you can call us on these numbers 081-4626-9214 or 005-680-9814. I'm Amina Imran. Good afternoon and thanks for listening.
Ayekooto 88.3fm.
Ayekooto, Ayekooto dumo, Ayekooto, Ayekooto dumo, 88.3, Ayekooto, ìtùnú ìròyìn wa o, òdodo ni o.